Morning, everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. Bugsy Malone is up in front. I can't turn the camera to show you her because this new camera's got this face tracking thing, so it will all get distorted. Anyway, how are you? I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love with those that you love doing them with. I'm not able to do the things I love anymore, not until February the 1st. Anyway, I gave up drinking. I'm gone son alcohol for the month of Jan. Wish me luck with it. I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight, and I'm also trying to get that mental clarity that comes with the boredom of not doing the things that you love to do. Anyway, wish me luck with it. I hope you are still persevering with your own resolutions, your own ambitious goals, and that you haven't yielded, conceded victory to the demons before day 3 is even complete. Guys, smash the like button for me on the video, if you don't mind. It really helps the channel. I know you always do, but I'll continue to ask. Hit the subscribe as well if you haven't already. We are about, well, just a few souls away from 21k. Any help in that regard is much appreciated. Even if you are subscribed, please check you still are. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's transfer news and clues update at the Spurs Talk Show. Guys, it's not all about, let's start with Dragusin. Yesterday, it was seemingly all done. We were very close to getting the here we go. Romano's putting out arrows with the white shirt and the Romanian flag. Then there was rumours that it was off because the agent of Dragusin was saying essentially that yes, he's had talks with Tottenham. He hasn't had any talks with Napoli or other clubs, but that Radu would find it very difficult to leave Genoa halfway through the season, project unfinished, all that kind of razzmatazz. Then it emerged that Napoli actually have put in a bid and they might actually be gazumping us. Then it emerged that Newcastle were in on the transfer deal. And then it came out afterwards, and the first thing this morning, that Tottenham are only about 4 or 5 million, maybe 6 million euros away. I think Tottenham have offered 24 million euros, something like that. And Genoa are looking more for 30 million euros, something like that. So where do we stand? Who do we believe? Well, look, the agent talk, first and foremost, I did say this in previous videos about this guy. His agent tries his best to give the best PR for this player. You know, the next Virgil van Dijk, all of these superlatives that we've seen and heard about this guy, and I've talked about them in previous videos, but sometimes I think the agent can do a little bit too much work, and I think in this scenario, I think he's over-talking, over-egging the pudding, trying to create some sort of noise, but at the same time trying to distance the player's motivations from leaving to protect maybe the player from some disappointed, angry Genoan fans. Genoan, I guess that's how you say it. I believe the transfer will still happen. I believe that they'll meet in the middle at about 25 or 26 million euros, 27 million euros, something like that. And we'll figure it out. I know some people are going to get frustrated and kind of go, oh, for the love of God, it's 7 million euros. Just get it done, Daniel Levy. But when you think about it, 7 million euros on a 23 million pound valuation is about 27% difference. It's not an insignificant sum when you bake in the kind of the overall price tag. There's quite a big increase in valuation gap that still has to be worked through. And you know, we do have 2 weeks until the next Premier League game. I think that's against, is it Brentford or Manchester United? Manchester United, I think. And so I'm not sure Dragusin would come straight in anyway and become part of the team for Burnley if he was signed in the next couple of days. So maybe they're thinking about the target date for his arrival being to play alongside Mickey van der Ven, perhaps, in the Manchester United game. Wouldn't that be fascinating? To see Bentancur, maybe Maddison, van der Ven and Dragusin all back for Manchester United. Suddenly you fancy your chances in that particular game. But it will happen. I'm pretty sure it will happen. Just hasn't happened yet. These things do take time. It's nice to see that we're getting things done, but don't get impatient. It's the 3rd of Jan, and that's what I think Fabrizio Romano was intimating when he put out an emoji with some sort of yoga Zen emoji on the tweet. He said, don't worry, basically, relax, calma, tranquilo, it will happen. What's not going to happen, though, guys, in all likelihood now is Conor Gallagher. It came out yesterday that Conor Gallagher has basically distanced himself, or that the rumours are that he's going to reject any potential move away from Chelsea. He is, of course, the standing captain in the absence of Reece James. And, you know, like I've always said, I think he's one of Chelsea's, if not Chelsea's, best player this season. It was always going to be a difficult one, a long shot, wasn't it? We always spoke about this, that Tottenham and Chelsea don't really do business. He's Chelsea through and through. He's Chelsea captain. A lot of the Chelsea, you know, top Chelsea people out there in the community have been saying, like, it's unthinkable, isn't it, to sell their captain to Tottenham Hotspur. And so, as it has seemingly unfolded, it will be very unlikely that Tottenham and Chelsea will do business. Morning, John.
Morning.
Will do business in this January window. Of course, he is still only 18 months away from his contract expiring. And so maybe that will be something that we pick up again in the summer if there's nothing else to substantially move the needle in a different direction this January. We have been, the kind of noise out of the club, according to people like Ornstein and other people that are familiar with the situation, has been saying that Tottenham, the priority right now is a centre-back. And after that, they'll see what else, you know, they can do with regards to forward and a midfielder. I think the midfielder will depend on players potentially leaving. On that note, I saw an article from Gio Lo Celso, or that was a quote from Gio Lo Celso. I think it was in the pre-match programme for the Bournemouth game, where he was saying, you know, he's really confident and comfortable here at Tottenham now, and that Ange, you know, went out of his way to explain to him he wanted him to stay, and that Ange has got very specific, meticulous preparation for games and has told Gio exactly what he wants from him, and he's really happy at Tottenham. And so, you know, that's the first kind of positive remarks that you've really heard from Gio. And, you know, if I'm entirely honest, it aligns up with when you see Gio now on the pitch, off the pitch, walking through, he's smiling a lot. He seems like a happier guy at Tottenham. Now, look, a lot of you will think that he is, you know, an asset that could generate some cash, and therefore we should liquidate him because his form is volatile and he's ultimately not necessarily first choice, and will he remain happy when Maddison comes back? Other people are starting to see the version of Gio that we haven't seen since, you know, that initial loan move when he came over here in the Mourinho era, and think that there's a player there, and actually if you were to liquidate the asset, you're not really going to get anything more than sort of 10, 12, 15 million pound anyway. If that, most of these foreign clubs that would want him would rather a loan deal. Come on, Bugs. And so, you know, at the end of the day, are you going to be able to replace him and the quality that he has with the money that you're going to get for him? And if the answer is no, then maybe he should stay. So if there is going to be midfield options, midfield changes, then it's probably, or could be, if you agree with my line of thinking here, that it will be Pierre-Emile Højbjerg that's the most likely to depart. I would say again, Ollie Skip has the homegrown thing. And look, Tottenham still have this elephant in the room around our homegrown quality, guys. I've said this 1,000 times now. At the risk of repeating myself and boring some of you, let's just go through the homegrown numbers that we do actually have. Alfie Whiteman, Brandon Austin, two players that are never going to play for Tottenham Hotspur, in my opinion, short of some absolute disaster to our options between the sticks. Ben Davies, who, for what it's worth, has been phenomenal for me this season, stepped up, been asked to play out of position, been asked to play with unrecognised centre-backs, learning a new model of football, and dependable Ben has kind of stepped up in ways that I think a lot of people didn't think he had in him. I've always been someone who stood by Ben Davies. I think he's a very useful player and a likeable guy around the dressing room, and of course he is homegrown. Some of you would say he's expendable, others may not. I'm going to put him on the list of okay homegrown numbers. You've got Ryan Sessegnon, who I think everyone would like to get rid of because he hasn't worked out at Tottenham with his injuries. Then you've got Ollie Skip, James Maddison, and now Brennan Johnson. And if Tottenham do want to continue to kick into the next gear with regards moving forward, we are going to need to improve our homegrown allocation. We know Pape Sarr, congratulations to Pape Sarr for getting his contract extension yesterday. Richly deserved. Hopefully he'll be here for the next 10 years and become a legend at Tottenham. He really does have the brightest future ahead of him. as long as he can stay injury free and keep his head, keep his feet on the ground and keep his head about him, there's absolutely no reason why he can't become a superstar. So he will slip into the homegrown numbers next year. But I think it's clear we are looking for someone to come in to help in that regard. And if it's not going to be Conor Gallagher, then who? Well, look, just for a split second, let's posit the idea that Napoli or Newcastle do come in and gazump Tottenham and do pay the €7 million extra, €6 million extra that Tottenham right now are not willing to pay. Then where do we go? That will be a bit of a disaster, right? And if Tottenham were willing, or at least considering, Conor Gallagher at 50 or £50 million, maybe they thought they could get it done for £40 million, but their approach to the valuation might not have been as high as Chelsea's, but it certainly wouldn't have been unrealistically lower. We're still thinking maybe 35, £40 million. If Tottenham were looking at Todibo, even though Todibo at Nice, for me, was, if the price tag, the sticker price a couple of weeks ago, according to all reports, was only €38 million, which to me, again, was a little bit unrealistically low for a player with as much potential as he has, and for someone who is so young and keeping Saliba out of the French national team. For me, the number is a lot higher, and I think Nice are well within their rights to request something closer to the 55, 60 million number for him. But if Tottenham were looking at those sorts of players, then, as I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 months, I think that there should realistically be about £70 million in the budget to spend in January. And if we're going to drop something like £25 million on Dragusin, then maybe we don't need another centre-back. But if the Dragusin thing was to fall over, well, one of the news articles that came out today was saying, from Chelsea's position, if they're not willing, or if Conor Gallagher isn't willing to leave the club this January, then they are forced to look in other directions to liquidate their homegrown talents in order to free up the FFP wiggle room to do what they're trying to do with regards to goalkeeper and a striker. And the obvious answer there, guys, is Trevoh Chalobah. And to me, I don't mind Trevoh Chalobah. I really don't. I think that Trevoh Chalobah is a very good player, a very young player. I think he's not quite as interesting or exciting because, he's been around the Premier League and he hasn't really kicked on into his career yet. But I think that as a player, I think he's got all of the kind of minerals, if you like, all of the prerequisites to be able to have a really solid career. And he is, of course, homegrown. So if something was to happen to the Dragusin deal, I wouldn't be surprised to see Tottenham try and turn their attention back to Chelsea and see if they can make something happen there. And I would be, offering you the same rationale as to why it might not happen. The fact that it's Chelsea, we don't do business with Chelsea, but for the other reasons, like Chalobah being Chelsea through and through, I'm not sure that's quite as strong of an argument as it would be with Conor Gallagher. The fact that he's not the captain, the fact that Chelsea have got 4 or 5 different centre-backs that are ahead of him in the pecking order, maybe in this scenario that could happen. I would still be surprised. Like I say, I think that the Radu Dragusin story will come to its fruition. But then where did Tottenham go for their homegrown? Well, as I say, if you're looking at the numbers of how much money we were prepared to spend or considering spending for a Conor Gallagher and for a Jean-Claire Todibo, and then we end up with a £25 million, give or take, Radu Dragusin, then maybe, just maybe, there's still £50 million waiting in the coffers for the right opportunity. Now, I wonder, guys, if you're looking for a homegrown player, you're looking for a midfielder or a forward, a versatile forward who can drive at players, and it might also depend on the Pierre-Emile Højbjerg leaving, who could raise a further £25 million or so, then does that give you any hope? I'm not telling you what to think here, I'm asking you how you would feel, but if you still have 50, 45 million left in the budget, plus you think you might maybe get some money with a Juventus deal for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, then would that suggest to you that Tottenham might go for the Juve player Illing Jr., who is, of course, we've got the relationship with Juventus. It looks like we're continuing to utilise Fabio Paratici's mechanisms, shall we say, to structure deals. Maybe Illing Jr. is the guy we'll find the homegrown number in. And if we do that, and that's the forward, then we would still have surely enough money to go bigger in the midfield area. Now, would that bring about an interest in someone like Arta Vermeeren from Antwerp, who's one of the most highly rated midfielders in Europe. He's only 18 years old, or just turned 19, I think. And so he wouldn't even affect the homegrown issue for a few years. And I believe if he is still 18, if you were to sign him in January, then by the time he would turn 21, I'm not entirely sure about this, but I think there might be a chance that he would even qualify for homegrown, similar to what Pape Sarr does. But maybe not him. What about if we weren't to go for Ealing Jr., guys? Is there any chance that we could turn to Crystal Palace and put in an outrageous swoop for one of either Eberechi Esse or Michael Elise? Both homegrown, both incredibly talented players, both immediately improve us. Elise less likely, he's just signed a contract, and of course Tottenham have just spent £50 million on a specific a forward named Brennan Johnson, who's a right winger. But with Eberechi Esse, you have someone who can play through the middle. You can have someone who plays as a 10, who certainly can play on the left if necessary. He can drive at players, and possibly has the ability in his technical levels to even drop into a kind of a Lo Celso 8, a more creative 8, but still a second 8. I don't know how much that number would be. I'd imagine that Crystal Palace would look for something silly like 65, 70 million pound. But on the basis of what I've just outlined, with how much money there should have been available in the budget, in the coffers anyway, plus any potential future sales for someone like Pierre Højbjerg, I don't know, dare to dream, is there a chance that we could potentially find the money and the ambition to go after someone like Eze? I'm not saying we will. I'm just putting 2 and 2 together here on an otherwise slow news day, trying to get to 4. But I do think Tottenham are still going to seek out. We need to find improvements in the homegrown. And I think even after this Dragusin deal is done, or if it doesn't happen and we go in a different direction, I still think Tottenham are going to need to, if they can, find 1 or 2 extra pieces to this jigsaw to give us the best chances for the rest of the year. And a homegrown number would be the solution. Eberechi Esse, for me, just screams out as one of the best options available if you could find a way to convince Palace to do business. Outside of that, as I say, there's the other homegrown numbers that we speak about them all the time. Calvin Phillips, alone with an option potentially. I mean, there's Jadon Sancho, but I think you can scrub that off because, Ange has said many times, give me the character over the talent all day long. He doesn't think there's that big of a gap between the very, very best and the very, very good in terms of ability, but the difference is usually the margin for differences, or the margin for improvements, is found in the personality. And if there's question marks over Jadon Sancho, then maybe he's not the guy. I think if you look around elsewhere for midfielders and forward options, the well is pretty dry at the moment for homegrown, where there's realistic outcomes. You're not going to get Watkins. You're not going to get Ivan Toney, in my opinion. I think he's twerking for other teams. I think Dominic Solanke is never going to leave Bournemouth, even though a lot of you don't want him anyway. But if that was an option, I don't think it would happen. As I say, there really isn't that many options. Morning, mate. And so, what do you think, guys? Could it happen? Eberechi Esse to Tottenham? This is more of an opinion editorial rather than a piece of news, but let's hope the Dragusin gets done today or tomorrow. Let's hope we move the needle on someone else very soon and Tottenham can make the best of 2024 whilst it is on offer. Like, subscribe and comment, guys. And check out, we'll be doing a stream later on this evening, going through whatever else we can go through. Use the Y Scout tool or something. Take care, guys. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, bye-bye.